You know that feeling, right? You're listening to an amazing piece of music, or maybe you're at the absolute climax of a movie, and bam, this wave of tingles just washes right over you. A shiver that has absolutely nothing to do with being cold. Well, that feeling is one of the most common and, honestly, one of the most mysterious things we experience as humans. So let's dive in and figure out what is actually going on when we get goosebumps.
Yeah, we all say it. It sent shivers down my spine. It's our go-to phrase for those moments of just profound beauty, or maybe a deep connection, or even a sudden jolt of fear. It's really just a shorthand for a feeling that's so powerful, it literally becomes physical. It's our inner emotional world spilling out onto our skin for everyone to see. And that right there, that's the million-dollar question we're tackling. How in the world does something as abstract as a feeling, awe or fear or pure excitement, how does that trigger a response that's so real you can see it? What's the hidden machinery that connects a beautiful melody to the tiny little muscles at the base of your hair? To get to the bottom of this, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the basic biology, then explore the whole emotional side of things, look at the big theories, see what a massive scientific review tells us, and then we'll take a little peek into the future of this amazing research. Okay, first things first. Before we can get into the complicated emotions, we gotta understand the nuts and bolts. What even is a goosebump, really? Well, it all starts with something scientists call an ancient hairy reflex. So the official fancy sciencey term is piloerection. I know, it sounds super complicated, but the idea behind it is actually pretty simple. All over our skin, at the bottom of every single hair, there's this teeny tiny muscle called an erector pili muscle. Piloerection is just what happens when that muscle squeezes and pulls the hair so it stands straight up. That's it. That's the whole goosebump. Now, what's really fascinating is how fast this all happens. It's like a chain reaction. It all starts with a trigger. Could be the cold, could be a loud noise, could be a powerful emotion. Your brain picks up on it and instantly kicks your sympathetic nervous system into gear. That's your body's fight or flight mode. This system then releases a chemical messenger, a neurotransmitter called norepinephrine. And as soon as that norepinephrine hits those little erector pili muscles, boom, they contract and your hair stands up. It's all completely involuntary and automatic. So why do we even have this reflex? Well, the best guess is that it's an evolutionary leftover. For our ancient, much hairier ancestors, this reaction had two really practical jobs. When they got cold, making their hair stand on end trapped a layer of air close to the skin, creating this natural, puffy coat of insulation. And when they were faced with a threat, think of a cat puffing up its fur or a dog raising its hackles, piloerection made them look bigger and scarier to a predator. For us, not so much. We're not hairy enough for either of those to work anymore, but that ancient wiring is still in our system. But here's where it gets really complicated, and frankly, a lot more interesting. That old reflex isn't just for cold and fear anymore. It seems like over thousands and thousands of years, it's been hijacked by the entire world of human emotion, turning a simple survival tool into something way more profound. Now, before we go any deeper, we gotta get our terms straight because scientists are really specific here. Piloerection is the physical thing you can see, the hair actually standing up. Chills or frisson or thrills, that's what you feel. It's that subjective internal wave of tingles. And here's the key takeaway. You can feel a chill without having visible goosebumps. But if you do see those goosebumps, that is the smoking gun. It is definitive proof that a physiological chill has occurred. And this right here, this is the central mystery. The exact same biological response, piloerection, gets triggered by a whole spectrum of completely opposite feelings. On one hand, you've got these incredible positive moments, listening to a soaring piece of music, feeling awe staring at the stars, or the pure excitement of a win. But then on the other hand, it's triggered by primal fear, deep sadness, even feelings of being alone. So what's the deal? Well, this paradox has led scientists to come up with several really compelling theories to explain why our emotions are, so physically expressive. So let's walk through the main contenders trying to solve this mystery. Okay, so here are the 5 big theories. The separation call theory basically says our brains have linked the coldness of being lonely to actual physical cold, and it just triggers the old reflex to warm up. Then there's the being moved theory, which is kind of the opposite. It says goosebumps are a social signal to show others we feel connected.
The peak arousal theory is way simpler. It just says any strong emotion, good or bad, that gets intense enough will flip the switch. The vigilance theory is all about surprise, like an unexpected chord in a song triggers a split second of fear, and when your brain realizes it's safe, you get that pleasurable chill of relief. And finally, the knowledge acquisition theories suggest it happens in those aha moments, when you have a sudden insight. So we have all these competing ideas, and they all sound pretty plausible, right? But what does the actual measurable physiological evidence tell us is happening inside our bodies? Well, to find out, researchers did a huge analysis of all the studies they could find. And this is the part I love. Scientists didn't just rely on one little study. They did what's called a systematic review. It's this super rigorous process where they gather up all the best research on a topic and put it all together to see what patterns pop up again and again. It's about finding the signal through all the noise. In the end, they analyzed 24 separate studies. Just think about that for a second. This isn't just one lab's opinion. It's a massive bird's-eye view of the entire field of research, giving us the most reliable picture we can possibly get of what's happening when we get the chills.
And the verdict is in. Across all of those studies, the single most consistent, undeniable finding was the activation of the sympathetic nervous system, the SNS. We call it fight or flight, but it's really our body's go signal. It's our arousal system. It's the same system that kicks in when you're startled or excited or super focused. So what that means is that emotional goosebumps are a clear physical sign of heightened physiological arousal.
And you can see the evidence right here. The review found that when you get a chill, two things consistently happen. Skin conductance, which is just a fancy way to measure microscopic sweating, a dead giveaway of arousal, it goes way up. And your heart rate increases significantly. Both are classic signs that your go system is active. What's interesting is that breathing rate didn't really change, which tells us this is a very specific response, not just a full-body panic attack. But, and this is a huge but, science is all about what we don't know, too. So while that go system is clearly a big part of the story, the role of its opposite number, the parasympathetic nervous system, our rest and digest or calming system, is a giant question mark. Nobody's really studied it in this context. So could it be that the pleasure we get from chills comes from some kind of rapid-fire dance between the go system and the calm-down system? We just don't know. And that leaves a massive piece of the puzzle just sitting there on the table. And that missing piece leads us right to the future. Now that scientists have the basics down, they're starting to ask some truly mind-bending questions that are pushing the limits of what we know about that connection between our minds and our bodies. First up, can we actually control this? And the answer, incredibly, seems to be yes. For a tiny number of people, they can give themselves goosebumps on command. And this is baffling because it's supposed to be an automatic, involuntary thing. If we can figure out how they do it, it could completely change how we think about conscious control over our own bodies.
And what about all those times you feel a chill, but you don't actually see any goosebumps? Is it possible that what we're feeling is just piloerection happening on such a tiny microscopic scale that we can't see it? If that's true, it would mean the feeling and the physical event are really the same thing, just happening at different levels of intensity.
Okay, now what if we could flip the whole thing around? We know emotions can cause goosebumps, but can goosebumps cause emotions? Some research actually suggests that if you artificially stimulate the skin to create goosebumps, you can make people feel surprised. I mean, just think about that. It's evidence that our mind doesn't just tell the body what to do. Sometimes the body's physical state tells the mind what it should be feeling. And this really is the ultimate question. What happens if we can finally trace the entire journey, from the sound waves of a song hitting your ear to your brain processing it as beautiful, all the way down to that one specific chemical being released at the base of one single hair on your arm? To map that whole pathway would be to understand, in a really profound way, how something as abstract as beauty can become a concrete, physical reality in our own bodies. And that, I think, is a mystery worth shivering for.